Okay, so here's the kombucha tea I promised you. Okay, I just made some tea. Well, I made it about 12 hours ago in this big stainless steel pot. And I'm actually in here are a bunch of tea bags. Okay, now there's about 10 tea bags in there. I made about 7 liters of tea last night. After the water had boiled, I added the tea bags, and then I added about 2 cups of sugar for every 3 liters. So because I did 7 liters of liquid, I added about 7 cups of sugar, or sorry, 4.5 cups of sugar. So that's 2 cups of sugar for every 3 liters, okay? So 4.5 cups of sugar, sounds a lot, okay, and it is, but it's actually gonna be food for the bacteria mushroom, I'm just gonna call it that because it makes more sense that way, that makes the kombucha tea, okay? So I've got jars here, I've got 4 in this batch, okay, and the batches will change based on, see what you want to do. This will last me probably, in this case, probably about a month, I think, for now. I think I'll use one of these a week, roughly. Now inside there's about 3 to 4 of these bottles. Well, actually, I'd say 3 bottles, so about 480 milliliters. So I've got 3 of these, which are $5 a piece at the store. So it's 15 bucks a jar. That's pretty good savings, just making your own. Here, I've got almost 60 bucks. All right, and so what I used is a black tea. I've got, I picked the chai tea, and I picked up this tea just because I tasted actually kombucha tea made by this company. And it happened to be quite tasty. So I said, you know what, this batch is going to be a chai kombucha tea. And so it's a black tea. It's a black tea with a bunch of, if you've ever had chai, you know what that tastes like. But it's essentially a base is a black tea. So it needs to be a black tea or a green tea, and it needs to be caffeinated. Now, that's just the way it goes. I don't really understand why it has to be caffeinated, but it's what the bacteria needs to make this brew effective. All right, so as I said, I've brewed this tea and I've let it cool. So if you put this tea into the jars and you add the mushroom, when it's hot, you'll kill the mushroom and the bacteria. So I have a number of mushrooms that I've used, and I put one in each of these jars. Okay, so I filled up the jar with tea. I put the mushroom inside, and I've also poured in about 1/3 or so of this bottle as a starter for each brew. And it's like a starter, kind of, you can think of as if you're making your own beer, you can add yeast to it. It's essentially like that. You're going to add some yeast to the bottle, some bacteria, and that bacteria is going to eat up all the sugar. So I'm not going to be left with a bunch of sugary drink. It's actually going to eat almost all of the sugar up. So if you've ever had kombucha tea, it's actually kind of sweet, very slightly, but it has almost a vinegar taste. And obviously you want to drink vinegar, it's pretty gross, but it has that kind of taste to it. It's really, really good. If you've never had it, you definitely have to try it. Well, you should try it first before you brew some. But the benefits that you'll see and that you've read through the Facebook or my blog is that, or if you scour the internet, there's a host of information on kombucha, but it's that beneficial that's going to build that base environment for the proper bacteria that help our bodies grow and function and allow us to be healthy. So after you've filled these up, what you're going to do is you're going to take a barrier. You want to take the bacteria from the air, and you don't want those air bacteria getting in here. So what you want to do is essentially get some barrier that's not going to take all the air out, because the bacteria need to breathe. So you're actually giving these guys the ability to breathe. And so this little barrier is going to do the trick. Now basically I took a napkin. This is like a 2 or 3 ply napkin, and I cut little squares out of it from the thinnest part, so just one of those plies, and I put it over top to create that barrier, and then I just put a plastic band over top. Now I'm going to brew this for up to 3 weeks, depends on the temperature. Now you want to brew this at about room temperature, about 70 degrees, so it shouldn't be too difficult to maintain that. In most households it's pretty easy to get that. so you're gonna have to kind of play around with that. You might need a thermometer to, or just, you know, if it's in an area that doesn't have a register that you can see the temperature from your thermostat. But you'll kind of know. It's a trial and error thing. It's kind of makes it that's what makes it kind of fun. You're kind of doing this on your own, and you're kind of playing with what you have available to you. Now 70 degrees I find is pretty good. Actually, I can keep it in the cupboard, and that maintains it. And you want it in a dark place too. So a dark place that is around 70 degrees. And you'll know after about a week. You want to test it in a week. And what you'll do is you'll just take the barrier off and you'll put a straw in. Hopefully, you know, you can just put it under into boiling water would probably be the most ideal. You want this as sterile as you can. I've washed my hands and I've cleaned these jars thoroughly. They were done in the dishwasher and just nice hot temperature. Taking them out, and so they're ready to go. But that amount of time that you're going to spend brewing this will just depend on that temperature. So after the week, you're going to take that straw and you're going to put it inside, cover the top, and pull it out, and you'll get some liquid in there. You just pour that onto a spoon, and you can taste and sample it. If it's too sweet, it needs a little more time. And that, as I said, it's going to take you probably up to 3 weeks. But usually around that 2-week mark, you're finding it's getting pretty close, and you'll notice that it'll be very aromatic of a vinegar smell. Okay, it's not going to be vinegar. As I said, it gets close to vinegar, but it's not quite vinegar. But that bacteria is going to produce its own byproducts, and those byproducts are gas and alcohol. So there's not going to be a fine amount of alcohol in there too. It's less than 1%, but generally it's and it's not enough to taste. But you're going to get the bubbles as well. So you're going to get some of that brew bubble that you'd get if you were making beer. And then you're just left with that tea, and then from that stage you stick it in the fridge, and that'll stop the fermentation process. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, just email me at info@nudgetraining.com, and I'd be very happy to answer any of those questions. Okay.